Good evening. It is 6 p.m. This is the regular business meeting of the Sandwich School Committee for November 19th, 2025. We will begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed by Sandwich Community Television. You can watch it on www.sandwichtv.org, Sandwich Community Television Channel 8. It is also being, I think, audio recorded by the Sandwich Enterprise. Next up is our first public forum of the evening. Would anybody like to come forward at public forum? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next up is our student representative report. Shreya. You can have your placard if you want it.
It's all right. Is it already on? Hello? Or is it? Do I need to push it up?
Just hit the green light.
Hello? Hello? Okay, perfect. I thought I was imagining things when I saw the green light on. Well, good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful time. I know it's dark. It gets darker and darker out the more that we meet into the school year, but that just means that, if you think about it, that it's going to get light out soon, so that means, summer soon, so positive thoughts. So, I'm going to start off with Forestdale. So recently on Thursday, November 13th, the students all dressed up for Spirit Day for the game that the Patriots had against the New York Jets. And it was just a great Spirit Day that they had, and I believe that that's the reason that the Patriots have been having such a great winning streak. So our Forestdale kids are really bringing that energy to them, and hopefully that means that when they win the Super Bowl, of course, that we'll all be able to attend. So field trip coming up soon. Get excited. They also had an amazing fundraiser from the Fun Run. So Gavin Thomas in second grade and Maggie Malone in also second grade, they had the two top fundraisers for the year, and Miss DeAngeli's class also earned the top classroom fundraiser, and in kindergarten had the top grade level. In total, all of them, because I feel the total impact is so important, because every donation was very important to the contribution. They raised more than $90K for the entire fun run, which is so amazing, and all of this is going directly to support programs, activities, and preschoolers, and all the stuff for preschoolers to sixth grade students, which is just so exciting, because that's going to bring so many new opportunities. They also, I know they've been, the maintenance people have been going around, so just a couple new things with Forestdale is that they've gotten new tables, which I saw pictures of those when I was walking in, so they look great. They used to have tables from when the school opened in 1989, so it's huge that we're getting new school lunch tables, and that also just they're fit to kind of have everyone with any needs be able to have access to them. So that's great, because that means that everyone will be able to have an inclusive lunch and enjoy lunch together in a comfortable dining environment. And also everyone get your Hoka's, Nikes, Under Armour, any type of running shoe you have on, because on November 26th, on the Wednesday, there will be the turkey trot will be happening. So everyone needs to be there, and we all need to be running with full speed. But obviously we should let the kids win, but still be competitive, because they like that. And then at Oak Ridge, they had a guitar ensemble. So Mr. Healy, he kind of had his lobby of it was just like a bunch of like kids who played guitar in the lobby as like students walked in. It allows for the students who are playing the guitar for like their talents to be showcased and kind of for them to like play music for everyone, and also for like a welcoming environment where we like celebrate everyone's like talents together. Tuesday and tomorrow, the World Language Honor Society from the high school is going to and has visited Oak Ridge, where we basically, so there were two groups that like from the Spanish classes and two groups from the Latin classes. And what we did was we like presented a myth from like either like Spanish speaking countries or from Latin origin. And it was so great. If you guys know like the blue armor that we use for like our mascot, I wore that. So watch out. Now my shoulders are really sore because it was so heavy. And then Peter, who I was working with, he was dressed up as a princess. So we all kind of just had like myths that we shared, but the kids were really engaged. And it was great to see all of them like so involved in learning about different cultures and everything. There's also Sugar Plum Fairy coming up, which is on November 23rd, which is a great way for kids to put on their adult shoes and to shop for holiday presents. It also gives I know a lot of high schoolers are volunteering, so it gives a great time for like that bond to be built between our schools, which I know we've been working on a lot. And there's also a movie night on November 21st, so it's just lots of activities for all the kids, for third and fourth graders. And this kind of like allows parents to also like recharge, but their kids to be like energized up with the movie that they're gonna watch. So it's gonna be great. And with the high school, we had our showcase recently. It was great. It felt like a little like high school like party because everyone was just there together. Like we were all having like a little reunion, and we were just like showing everything that our school has to offer, which like when you go to that school every day, you don't realize it. But then when you go to the showcase, you're like, wow, like this is so amazing, because like you just see all the pathways, all the clubs and everything, all the classes and everything. So it's great. We've had lots of honor society inductions. So the fall National Honor Society induction was on the 6th. English, Rho Kappa, and World Language Honor Society was on November 10th. And then on Thursday, there's going to be the math, science, and computer science inductions. So proud of all of the students, and we're so excited to celebrate their academic excellence that they've been demonstrating. And then from November 17th to December 5th, Project 351 is doing a food drive. There's bins in all the schools. Any donation counts. I know that they'll be grateful for anything that they get. And all of this benefits the Sandwich Food Pantry, so it benefits our own community as well. We had 5 Blue Knights sign recently to commit to play, yes, right there, to play sports. Well, there's 2 Megans. One of them's going to Merrimack for field hockey. Kyla's going to Assumption for lacrosse. And then Joe's going to Bryant for baseball. Mia's going to New Haven University for softball. And then Megan Appy's going to UNH for soccer. So we're so proud of them. And it's so exciting, like, as their peer as well, to see, like, how far they've grown, how much they've grown, and everything that they've accomplished. And I know they've all worked very hard. There's been a biodiversity mural in 7th grade that the 7th graders have been working on. It's in the hallway, like right as you walk in. It showcases like the 7 unique ecosystems of like the native species that are in our town. And Donna Rockwell, she's a Sandwich Mill High School like parent, and she's been helping out with all of the mural and everything. So it looks amazing, and it's kind of like we're very grateful because it allows for the students' dreams to come true. And then, oh, okay. And also, oh, no, it's okay. Okay, it's okay. Oh,
I'm so sorry.
it's okay.
I really
It's
am.
all right. It's okay.
Just continue with your report.
Okay. It's okay. I just have one thing left.
Charlie's on it. Chair of our select board is all over it.
Okay, great.
Back to you.
I was just going to say that I'm going pro for football because if you guys didn't hear, the defense that I had for the Powder Puff game was just so great. I by accidentally tackled a girl and I felt really bad, and then she dropped the ball and I didn't know I was supposed to pick it up and then start running, so it was just like really confusing. But the Powder Puff game was a huge success, huge win for the seniors. We're so proud of them, and we're so excited for us to all go pro, actually. So watch out. We will be taking over the Patriots in a couple of years. So yeah. Do you guys have any questions or anything?
Any questions for Shreya? Well, good to see you as always.
Thank you, Shreya.
Sorry.
No.
Thank you guys so much. Have a
Next
good
one.
evening.
Okay, next up is review and act on the minutes of our regular meeting of November 5th, 2025.
I move that we approve the minutes from our business meeting, November 5th, 2025, as presented.
Motion by Ms. Bonetta, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. Executive session minutes, we don't have copies for everyone to review, so we're going to defer that to our next meeting unless there's any objection. Seeing none, moving on to correspondence and announcements.
I have one.
Ms. Bonetta.
I have an announcement from the DECA organization needs community members to serve as judges for their mock role play night on December 9th. Ideally, they need 50 judges. No experience required. A business background is a bonus. And you can find a link to sign up on the Parent Square on the Castle Chronicles site or the PTSA Facebook page.
Anyone else? No correspondence. Next up is superintendent's update.
All right, good evening, everybody. I think Shreya alluded to one of the pieces that I want to talk about. And I know, Sue, at the last meeting, you asked for kind of an update of what we were doing, particularly in light of some of the then challenges, but, you know, particularly as we're going into the holiday season around food insecurity. And I know, I believe, a issue ago, there was a really nice piece in the Enterprise regarding some of our efforts across the district. So I wanted to point these out. First, I want to talk about the middle high school, and I really want to commend the work of guidance counselor Nicole Alexander and one of our social workers, Diana Smith, who've partnered with Cape Kid Meals to actually establish a food pantry on the lower level of the middle high school. So what we've done is we started, I believe, the first date was something like November 7th, and what we're doing is every Wednesday between 5 and 6, it is open. Right now, according to Nicole and Diana, we're doing it very much by putting out kind of a Google form, a survey to families so that they can do the order in advance. Realize Cape Kid Meals works in collaboration with the Greater Boston Food Bank, so they're getting a steady stream of non-perishable items to us every single week. We're getting weekly deliveries. And they've also started adding extra items such as kids' coats, socks, backpacks, things like that would be needed. So we're really trying to promote this. We're going to promote this every single week in our various Parent Square newsletters. According to Nicole and Diana, there's really only one area where there's a need, and that's particularly like paper products, things like paper towels, toilet paper, and so on. But they feel pretty good about it. They were very explicit in just saying, hey, this isn't something just for Sandwich Middle High School. This isn't even something for families that are affiliated with Sandwich Public Schools. It's for any family within our community that has this need. So It's something that's out there. They also shared with a lot of pride that our life skills kids are the ones putting together the packages for families and so on. So it's really a great, great effort, and we want to see this be successful and reach out to families that may need this. The second piece, as I put in the background notes, we simultaneously have a food drive going on at Forestdale that's being spearheaded by this year's Project 351 ambassador, Macy Christensen. That just started 2 weeks ago. It is going swimmingly well, particularly at Oak Ridge, where these pictures are from. We're running this through December 5th. Anything that we get is going, again, locally to the Sandwich Food Pantry. I think I put in the background notes, right now at Oak Ridge, the kiddos have brought in 1,417 items alone. I don't mean to single out a kid, but it was brought to my attention, and you see her smiling face there on the right. A student by the name of Lunea Kirschner, she herself bought 190 items. So I got an email from Dr. Stevens, and I'm like, what do you mean she bought 190 items? And she responded, Joe, she used birthday money, babysitting money. She literally used her own money, didn't hit up mom and dad. And the 190 items represents 2 of everything that the Sandwich Food Pantry suggested that they needed. So that's the kind of stuff that really does your heart good. So kudos to Lunea, kudos to the students there that are doing the right thing. And again, I love the fact that this is all staying within our community. So a lot of props, but a lot of good news, and great work going on across the district. The second piece that I have in my report tonight is related to just where we are. Great progress is going on with regard to the facilities condition assessment and the transportation study that we've talked about in previous meetings. We've had 4 representatives from Habib and Associates already spend 2 days at Sandwich Middle High School, 1 day at Oak Ridge, and today was the last day they were on site. They spent all day today at Forestdale. So they are on target now to do the assessment and actually price out what they're coming up with based upon their analysis and the assessment. And we're still on target with them to have their best assessment and recommendations either by the end of December or early January. The same is true with Rich Labrie from Alliance Education Associates, who's doing the transportation study. Right now, he's pretty much completed the analysis of our bus routes and tiers using his own third-party routing software. And this week, he'll start the progression of looking over a period of 6 weeks of the actual bus counts for drop-off and pickup. So that'll be a key piece. I do also want to mention a third piece that has kind of been developing over the last 6 to 8 weeks, but we've procured MASCA, which is the Massachusetts School Counselor Association, to conduct a program evaluation of our guidance program at Sandwich Middle High School. So this will entail getting feedback from all stakeholders, from our students, from our parents, from our staff, through surveys, through interviews, both on-site and virtually, and to kind of assess where we are with regard to the delivery of services as how it compares to both the Massachusetts model of school counseling and also the ASCA, or the American School Counseling Association model. So really looking forward to getting that feedback from an objective third-party source. It really is considered to be a peer review from folks who have that expertise in the field, again, with the ultimate outcome of improving the services that we deliver to students. So any questions on any of that?
Dr. Miller.
To my knowledge, we do not, other than whatever students could access in Power School. And my gut tells me in Power School, it would be more current and previous, not so much forward-looking. Honestly, I don't know. Sure.
Anyone else? I'll just say, we had a budget subcommittee prior to this, and we talked about one of the our perennial goals is continuous improvement. I look at all three of these initiatives as improving our facilities, improving our efficiencies with buses, and improving the guidance program. So it's certainly in line with that. So next up is the budget update.
Good evening. I have the October report in front of me, and you all have it. This month, I'm seeing a few things that may be of concern going through the year. Special education is still in arrears to 1.2 million, and that's after applying 300,000 of circuit breaker, so we'll have to take a look at that. Those represent the out-of-district tuitions, and I know there are more children waiting to be approved for this. I think the utilities are going to be an issue, especially at the high school. I'm hoping that with the new boilers and hopefully the new control systems, that'll help alleviate the expense at the high school. That's pretty much it. We have enough money in circuit breaker to cover whatever's going on with the special ed tuitions, so I don't have any issues with that. Does anybody have any questions?
Ananda.
Is there an increase in out-of-district? Have we noticed out-of-district placement? Are the facilities increasing their fees? Do we know?
Well,
Are we just
The schools have increased their fees a
Yeah.
great deal.
since
So-
last year?
Yeah.
So it's the
Every-
tuitions more than the number of students?
It's the tuition at
Got
each
it.
individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yes.
clarifying that.
So the projections for last year may be a little under for what we're seeing this year. Certainly over what I thought we would be seeing at this point after applying part of the circuit breaker, so.
Do they have a certain time period if you have an out-of-district tuition? If they are going to increase, do they have to give you a timeline of
They tell you during the summer that there's gonna be, but it's way after you've done the budget.
after you've done the budget?
Yeah, so they'll tell you the standard amount, and then some schools can
Kind of
increase more.
anticipate.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll give you a range, but as Michelle says, they don't finalize it until the summertime.
Till the summer.
Yeah.
If you recall, I think it was going into the 23 into 24 fiscal year, they had what they considered to be a correction, and it was something like an 18% increase across the board for all out-of-district programs.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, there's a couple of kids that are
They're even more than
way
that.
more than that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, the really high ones are residential children, but
So I guess obviously students need to have the best experience, the least restrictive experience, all of that sort of stuff.
I can tell you a $14,000 a month bill is not probably a residential.
It's not a residential.
No.
When settings are lit for, they meet a standard, and do we shop?
Well,
I don't know about that.
well,
Yeah.
to be fair, and it's so apropos that our new director of pupil services is here this evening, it isn't so much shop, but realize when a decision is made by a team, an IEP team for an out-of-district placement, usually several packets are sent out to different schools that would be an appropriate fit. Sometimes you can have a situation where it could be 3 or 4 are appropriate. Sometimes if a student has some real significant needs, it may be only 1 or 2, but then it also comes down to where there are appropriate openings as well. So a lot of times it's challenging.
So circuit breaker addresses the tuition as well as the transportation side of it?
Only a portion of it,
Circuit breaker
correct.
usually covers tuition.
Tuition
More so
only,
than
not the
transportation.
transportation.
And I understand from our MASC, MASS conference that one of the legislative initiatives is to lift the present cap on reserve accounts that would be used to offset and supplement and save for these kinds of situations.
Right.
I had a quick question. When I was looking at Forestdale salaries under school-wide specialist, was there an addition? Was there an additional hire, or is that there was like a $56,000 increase?
I think a lot of times they will switch positions around, and I think that one of the teachers became a coach and she moved down on the budget, but we haven't done a transfer to cover the salary.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we actually had the former literacy coach left in August, accepted a position elsewhere. And
Okay,
to
okay.
your point, somebody who was a second grade teacher moved into that
Moved
role.
into that role. Okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Quick question. Mentioned this briefly during our finance subcommittee. Looking at the athletics lines,
Yeah.
I know the past couple years we get surprised in the spring at the charge for ice time. We end up kind of we end up in the red. What line item is that covered under? And is that already have an amount encumbered, or does that come out of the revolving?
Should come out of his supply code for lack of, he doesn't have a contracted service code.
Okay.
But I don't know if he has it encumbered yet.
Okay, if we could get a little detail on that, just so we manage that forward and we're not surprised come March, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Moving on to old business, liaison and subcommittee vacancies. So our friend Mr. Fisher departed us, so we do have a couple gaps on our slate of committees. So we just wanted to kind of fill in the blanks. We did send out earlier sick bank liaison. Dr. Miller has already raised her hand on that, so that you can consider that one filled. And with already 2 liaisons for SCTV, I think we're probably good there. So it's really negotiations and evaluations. Danielle and I are already on the superintendent's evaluation, so it leaves it. Okay, Ms. Tracy raised her hand. That was quick, which leaves negotiations. And Danielle, so that really comes down to Kaylee, who's not here. We could do that to her, but there's no real.
Let's just say negotiations will not be a heavy lift in 25, 26.
Sue, you want to come out of retirement for negotiations?
I'll do it
But you're busy.
for the remainder of the year, sure, because I don't know what the outcome will be.
Okay. Well, then we'll put Dr. Miller into negotiations and Ms. Goodwin into superintendent's eval. That was quick and easy. We'll take it. And thank you both for stepping forward. And just, Dr. Miller. Yes, ma'am.
I do not recall volunteering to be secretary of the policy committee, but yet it's reflected on me. Is doing such a good job that I want to make sure that that's reflected.
I'm sure we can make that editorial change.
I'm already the secretary for one of the other ones. Oh, I did. Oh, okay.
We'll let the subcommittee pick its secretary, and you can get back to us. How's that? Any other questions on that? All right. Thank you for that. That was quick and easy. Moving on to other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. So next up is new business integrated program review. Ms. Jennifer Healy, Director of People Services.
So we're delighted to have Jen here, and she has a little bit of baptism by fire with regard to, we have our one of our major accountability pieces with regard to our special education program coming up. As I said in the background notes, this is pretty much a 3-year review process. We're in outstanding hands with Jen's leadership. Been there, done that as far as having the experience. So I thought it'd be helpful just to kind of have a high-level overview of what this entails. So Jen.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. So I'm going to talk about integrated monitoring review. You may recognize terms like tiered focus monitoring, which was TFM in the past, or even a few more years back for coordinated program review, CPR. So the Department of Ed has now changed that acronym again, but really what all that alphabet soup means is that we are looking at our special education and our civil rights as far as auditing those systems and making sure that we are in full compliance. Okay. And so really their purpose in doing that is making sure that we have policies and procedures that are in line with federal and state guidelines, that they're up to date with any advisory that's come out through the state, and that they're really just in alignment with our federal governing laws for special education. Typically, this cycle aligns with our Office of Language Acquisition, so they are also going through the tiered focus monitoring or the IMR process right now as well. But this particular audit looks solely on special education and civil rights. And so, as mentioned, it's sort of a 3-year cycle. They actually consider it a 6-year cycle because they break it into 2 3-year groups. So I'll talk a little bit about that. It's divided into what's called Group A and Group B. So if you go to the next slide, we are currently in Group A. And so we are in year 2 of Group A, which means that we are preparing for our on-site review. Last year, there was a self-assessment. So what that meant was some of our documents for civil rights, some of our policies and practices were uploaded into the Department of Ed system. And so they've had the opportunity to review some of those. We also had indicator data, which I'll describe a little bit later in the presentation. And so that has also been uploaded. What we'll do this year is upload some more special education documentation and then prepare to have some representatives from the Department of Ed come on site, look at our records, walk through our buildings, interview some staff, and then we will get a report out of that whole process, and then year 3 will be monitoring. So depending on what comes out of that report, year 3 might be doing corrective actions if that's what's needed. If not, great, we'll just maintain and ensure that we are continuing to comply with our guidelines. And so you'll see that those are just some of the universal standards. Group A and Group B look at different things. So really, Group A is looking at student eligibility, child find processes, the IEP in general, programming, student supports, our process for disciplining when we're looking at special education students, because there is a very different guiding practice when we're looking at suspensions for students with disabilities, and then equal opportunities. I will not read through all of these criterion for you, but why I created this slide is really to illustrate that Group A is very special education heavy. What you'll notice when we go through Group B is that it's more civil rights heavy. So this is just kind of how they slice the pie for these things. But that gives you all of the documents that I will be uploading pretty shortly for December 15th, and we'll talk about timeline in a few. But those are all the policies and practices that we'll need to say we have. One, that we have established, but two, that we're complying with. So those things will be uploaded for our document review. As I mentioned, civil rights has already been uploaded, and what's noteworthy about the civil rights is we did not get any negative feedback from the state on what we uploaded. They didn't ask for any additional documentation. So that's a good sign. It means we're in good standing for the documents that have already been submitted. Also part of this process, in addition to the documents that we will provide, there'll be a record review. And so pretty soon we'll be providing the Department of Ed with student rosters. And they'll be looking at those student rosters and really choosing some names sort of to get a variety of student placements, disability, disciplinary actions, really to get the gamut of our students and to be able to look at all of those different documents. There's a couple different types of record reviews that they'll be looking at. So one is for special education specifically. They'll also be looking at some general ed interventions, determining if we are providing general ed interventions before referral, and then that we're documenting those processes and monitoring how students are doing with those interventions. And then also they'll be looking at our early literacy student records. So 3 different types of record review, but you know, they'll provide us with those names ahead of time. We'll be able to make sure that all of those things are put in place. Sure.
So do they have to have parent permission before they pull those student records?
That's a great question. They don't, because they're the Department of Ed.
Okay.
But all of those records are very secure. So everything remains confidential. None of that sort of leaks out. And none of it's posted either publicly. So really it's usually 2, sometimes 3 representatives from the department that come, and the records don't leave. So they do get the student rosters, but electronically through their secure system. But when they come and actually see our records, they're not taking them with them. They're sitting in our spaces. That's why they come on site, so that they're looking at those records. Okay. Another part, as I mentioned, was indicator data. Much of this is already completed, but it's part of the process, so I wanted to share with you. So indicator 11 looks at our child find and our initial evaluation process. Indicator 12 looks at our early childhood, and indicator 13 looks at secondary transition. All of this was submitted last year during that part of the document review. And what was found was that indicator 13 came back fully compliant, no recommendations, no corrective actions, which is great. 11 and 12 did come back with a few corrective actions. There were some discrepancies with timelines. Since that time, we've submitted a corrective action plan. We've heard back from the Department of Ed on that corrective action plan with some guidance on what our next steps are. Much of that was training of staff, review of what our procedures are to make sure that we are in fact consistent, and contacting many of those families in which that timeline impacted and talking whether or not compensatory services were owed. And so all of that had been completed. We submitted that progress report on November 14th, and I just received an email back that said approved. So I am assuming, unless I hear otherwise, that our progress report kind of went through well, and that we won't really have follow-up corrective actions. Sometimes they will come in and say, I'd like to see a file to ensure that you are doing what you say you're doing, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But right now, I think we're in a good place with indicators. So the on-site review, like I mentioned, will include a couple different things. They will come in, look at those special education records, our general ed records, and our early literacy records. They will come through the building, likely with myself, maybe with the building administrators as well, and look at our timeout spaces. So those are spaces within our buildings that we offer for students who might be dysregulated or having some behavioral challenges and need a quiet, private space to be able to re-regulate and offer coping strategies. And so those timeout spaces have criteria on what they have to look like. So the state will be coming in to make sure that we are compliant with all of the different pieces of that space and that they are up to code. So that will be another piece of things. And then there'll be interviews with staff, administrators, and sometimes community members as well. And then next slide. Thank you. So here's the timeline. Like I mentioned, that document review will be uploaded on December 15th. So those are all those special ed criterion that you saw listed. By January 26th, we will be making sure that they do in fact have our rosters, and that we'll be doing a local outreach. So typically it's a scripted sort of letter that comes directly from the state, but we will be posting that through our communication tools so families know that this is happening, because that was a great point about if I have a child and my record's being looked at, what does that mean for me? So that the public will be notified of that and given the name of our representative from the department, so that if parents do have questions, they can absolutely reach out directly to her. And then we will also be submitting some of our early literacy materials at that time. The 24th will be our first day of on-site. They'll probably be here for 2 full days, the 24th and 25th. That following week, on March 2nd-ish, any follow-up interviews that need to happen with staff will be conducted likely more remotely. I don't believe that they'll be coming in person on-site at that point in time. Approximately around March 23rd, because these are now due dates that the aforementioned due dates are things we have to do. These last two are what DESE will have to do for us, so I can't guarantee. But they are saying approximately March 23rd, they will be debriefing with the district. So they will have a conference call with us, kind of go over the initial thoughts of our report, highlight the glows, and highlight the grows, and tell us where we might need to improve. And then April 24th-ish, they should be issuing us a final report. There is a whole process where if the district disagrees with something in the report, we can appeal it. But ultimately, we'll be getting the final report at that point in time. And then we'll know whether or not we will have corrective actions or if we will be found compliant and just be monitoring for year 3. And I think that was really it. As you can see, there's some information there for you. Julie Evans is our representative. So she happened to be a representative in my former district when I went through this process prior, so I know her. She does a really nice job, and she's really informative. So if you do have questions, I urge you to reach out, or you can reach out to myself. I'm happy to answer anything if you have questions going forward, but hopefully I'll be able to give you some updates along the road. Any questions?
Is this process reviewed at a meeting of the CPAC group?
It usually is, yes, and they interview the CPAC chair usually.
They
I know I did
do.
it back in 2020, gosh, it might have been 2021. It was virtual.
Yes.
Because it was post-COVID right after.
Yeah, so that's a great question. They do. They'll either come in person or they'll do a virtual model, but they do like an orientation for the CPAC where they present this information out. They haven't given me that date yet, but typically in my prior experience, it's like probably more like a late January, I would guess.
No, they were very informative the last time that we went through this. Yeah, they were great.
And we can certainly add it to a future agenda in April once the report is out for the
Sure.
follow-up.
Yeah.
Any other questions? It certainly wasn't you. Ms. Goodwin did have a prior conflict, so that
Oh.
was a planned departure.
I will not take offense.
Thank you very, very much. Sounds like a little bit of work to do, but I appreciate you crossing the i's and dotting the t's.
All right.
The other way around, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Next up is Joint Mass Conference Shareouts. So last week was the annual Mass Conference. The superintendent attended, Dr. Miller, myself, and Danielle took one for the team and served as our delegate. I don't know, Sue, if you had anything you wanted to share?
Only that a good cross-section of workshops. I attended a program on AI and sponsored by MassQ. MassQ is Mass Computer Using Educators, and they're really turning their attention to AI, how AI is implemented in the classroom, in the academic curriculum, teacher training, professional development around it. It was very interesting. What I observed is that the publishers are jumping and the technology groups are jumping into this wholeheartedly, ready to sell products before a lot of the deep thinking and reflection by teachers and educators of all kinds in terms of what are the ethical implications of this, how do we really assess learning in this new world. But what was interesting, in this particular group, they said that we are really shifting from the information age to the imagination age, with not a whole lot of guardrails or things even pulled together. But what I did learn is that there is a group, and it's called within MassQ, which is called PEAK, lots of acronyms, Partnership in Educators Advancing AI Knowledge. And this is a large group of educators from all over the Commonwealth are beginning to kind of map out this new world and consider a lot of the questions. So we are part of MassPeak, and apparently there is a group that will be of various groups that will be looking more closely at all of this. So that was very interesting. There was a state legislative interview that was really two people that are on the floor at the State House all the time. Took us through a process of how a bill becomes a law in the state of Massachusetts, and it's not as linear as you might think. It's very non-linear. And there was also some discussion about the fact that there are over 40 potential ballot questions, petition ballot questions, being proposed for the next ballot. And the conversation went around, because of the inactivity of our state legislature, both houses, that this is really the mechanism that frustrated special interest groups and citizen groups are using to get their issues in front of the voters and really going around the legislative process. And I think what we're seeing, not so successfully, when the legislature ignores some and doesn't ignore and takes others. So very interesting, and that there were other things that they talked about. Timely to our discussion here tonight, there was a session on bus transportation, and as I sat there, I felt really good about the superintendent's wisdom in proposing an assessment as we go forward. This is a very costly item in our budget, and it really presented the legal aspects of what age and grade level of students must be transported, those where there is some discretion in the district as to whether we transport, and even the possibility of a fee structure outside of those mandated populations. So that was very interesting and timely. And then there was another one by the Mass School Building Authority, and I've been on the committee for 5 years, and that's the first time I heard a really comprehensive walkthrough to the various Mass Business Authority programs, timelines, what's covered, what's not covered. It's an amazing and very arduous process to work through either a renovation, funding, or core, which is like major renovations, additions, new buildings, that kind of thing. So all in all, it was really good, and there were some soft skills presentations, such as how to deal with people who really are called by this person conflict entrepreneurs. There are a lot of them in this world right now, and how to deal with them. And then the Teacher of the Year was just delightful. This was special education Louisa Sparrow, and part of her conversation with us was, what is my why in terms of why I do this work? And that she's learned that she needs to focus on the glimmers or the successes, which is something, I think, good advice for all of us. Focus on the why we do it, and also grab the glimmers when you can catch them, because they motivate you to keep going. So I thought it was a very useful conference this year.
Danielle, anything?
She was a great speaker, too. We listened to her together. In the Boston Public Schools, too, special ed class. So I was able to attend on Friday as the delegate to go over the resolutions, and it was much shorter than previous years, but Resolution 1 was the one that we voted on, and the rest of the resolutions were the ones that were ready to kind of go off into the sunset. But Resolution 1 was about removing the BMI testing from the schools, and which we all voted in favor for, and it passed, and with an amendment that it was interesting. There was a school committee member who was a nurse practitioner that came up and recommended an amendment, and from her personal experience as well, that to add the language to remove the BMI testing, except when a student's healthcare provider requests it, with screening with parental or guardian approval. Because this particular nurse practitioner said that she oftentimes has families that don't have access to a doctor or to an urgent care, and the school is their only source of health care. So it did pass. And the rest of the resolutions that we had voted on here, it was voted in that they were to stay for the next 3 years and not go away. So they're going to stay active and continue to work on them.
That was done in blank, just.
Yeah, and yep, it was quick.
I attended as well. Sue and I tried to hit different, we both attended the Mass State Building Association, or Mass Schools Building Association, whatever it's called.
Building Authority. Yeah.
School Building Authority, thank you. I was 0 for 3 on that one, which was very informative. It is a convoluted process, but, it's down the road for us, but it may be something we need to consider in the future. 10-1 on communicating through crises, which was nothing too exciting there. One that I thought was very interesting was athletic trainers' role in physical, social, and emotional well-being of our school community. That if you've ever been in the high school, at the end of the day, a very popular spot is our trainer's room, because some kids actually need an ankle taped. Some people just need some comforting reassurance and the camaraderie that comes with that space. And it really kind of, I've felt this previously, but going into that, listening to that presentation, it really resonated with me, just the value of having a full-time athletic trainer. Not every school has one. Some of them use, some sports require it. Football, hockey, wrestling, they are required to have a trainer on site to have a competition. But if you do part-time or per diem, that trainer's not going to know the kids. Whereas Kelly Spur, our athletic trainer, knows that kid from one season to the next, knows the issues they're dealing with. Sometimes that might be the a sympathetic ear for that, can listen to whatever the issue the kid's dealing with that may not be heard elsewhere. There's just, none of that might, and some of that's probably not even in the job description, but there's just, it's one of those things like that. That's a line,
Continuity.
that's a budget item that matters. It really, really does. And I thought it was very interesting. One thing they did bring up, which I sent you a note on, but it's never connected. We do a lot of emergency drills and things like that. Do we ever do that after hours, for like an emergency action plan? Like
We have not, no.
if that is something we could, next,
Sure.
our next safety meeting.
Yep.
What happens if there's a true medical
Yeah.
emergency? How do we react? Does everybody, because she might be on the softball field and something happens on the lacrosse field. How do we? What is that response plan? I'd be interested in that. I can tell you, having worn stripes in a different school, last year I had a basketball player, a young lady, non-contact, just walking up, just dribbling the ball up at mid-court, collapsed. Like, out. Scared the bejeebus out of me. Trainer was there. Everybody responded the way they needed to, but it's one of those things we should think about.
Yeah.
Really more for, our teachers that are coaches. It's a little bit more intrinsic, but we have some coaches that are not teachers, making sure that they are well-versed in what needs to happen and how it happens.
Sure.
So, the other one was interesting. Was chair. It was called Chair
Yes.
Chat, and it was just basically to talk about the role of this seat and the pros and cons of it and all that kind of stuff. One thing that one district mentioned is they host a meeting in every school every year, and we're going to have to leave this building because of the window project.
Right.
Likely go into the high school if we get the video all sorted out. But it made me think, wouldn't it be nice to have a little field trip to Oak Ridge and do a meeting there, or at Forestdale using the new tables, or wherever? If we can figure out the video part, I think to highlight that school and maybe the good things going on there is something we could consider for the spring.
Sure.
So, and yes, nothing better than 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and attend a session on the open meeting law, but I did do that as a refresher. I don't know, anything you want to share?
2 or 3 highlights. I had the opportunity, along with Dave Quinn, to go to a session that was presented by MCIEA, the Massachusetts Consortium for Innovative Educational Assessment. So it was formed probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little under that, by a professor. He's now, I believe, out of UMass, Jack Schneider, as kind of like an antidote to MCAS that, how can we really measure what kids know and are able to do in a meaningful way? So really inspirational work going on in both Milford and Attleboro, very much closely aligned with our district work around deeper learning and having exhibitions of student work and celebrations of student work. So that was a great session. Kind of similar to Kevin's chair session, I did go to a session on Friday afternoon around new school committee member orientation. And I think there's some things that we do well, but I do think we could do a whole heck of a lot more. They had a couple different school districts present things like ensuring, a formal visit from a formal meeting with the chair and vice chair with new members. 1 or 2 meetings, tours of the schools. Think about school committee members that come on board and maybe don't have a sense of 1 or 2 of the schools, or they don't have children in the schools and so on. So that, I definitely got some pearls of wisdom from that session. And then third, and I think Sue mentioned it, I do think it was a good get having the journalist Amanda Ripley, who is the author of High Conflict, in which, she was one of the keynote presenters, and just talking about the wonderful days that we've been living through where there's such high polarization that people are ready to just kind of jump down each other's throats. And my takeaways were really around she kept on saying, when you're in this high anxiety, high confrontational moment, you really need to do things that are counterintuitive. And the counterintuitive is not to escalate, not to be defensive, but just to kind of step back and, to de-escalate through really the number one technique is listening. And listening and then kind of trying to connect to, at a minimum, repeating back what that person is saying to you. So I think that's a valuable lesson for all of us, whatever role that we're in the times that we're living through. So a lot of value there.
And that was the last meeting on Cape Cod. It's coming up to
Right.
Danvers next year, so we probably can't stand, 3 people. But we'll worry about that next year. Anything else on that? Any questions on that? Seeing none. Other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have no new business, but just a quick alibi. We did get our CPC application in for the tennis courts, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that is done.
Great. Thank you.
Subcommittee reports. Finance.
Prior to this meeting, the Subcommittee on Finance met. We looked at and identified goals for the FY27 budget. We took as our cue last year's FY26 goals, as well as our new strategic plan. Part of the purpose of a strategic plan is help us set our chart our course for the next few years, but also, if it's important enough to be in the strategic plan, it should be reflected in our budget requests. And so we looked at that. So on your screen, you can see to provide a level services budget with some detailed explanation of that. Refers to our district strategic plan with an eye toward improving student outcomes. And I think, as Kevin mentioned earlier, I think since before the superintendent was in his official capacity as superintendent here, the words continuous improvement have just it's just a continuous message that has been infused into all of our documents and the way we talk about education here. And then deferred maintenance, which we've been working on for the last couple of years, and the town voters has supported through debt exclusions and votes to return additional Chapter 70 monies. We're reinvesting all of that into our aged buildings. And then finally, always to look for efficiencies in operations, continuing to right-size in specific areas to maintain our quality programming, but also to be mindful of the price tag of those programs and resources that are responsible to manage those. We looked at the budget outlook for 2027, and one of the big impacts, and we don't know how it will hit us, but you've certainly heard in the popular media that the cost of medical insurance is going up significantly, and we are facing perhaps up to 15% increases in medical insurance, both for our staff, but in terms of retired workers as well. So we don't know how and where this will hit, but it will hit, but we're still, within those increases in expenditures, our goals guide how we approach each line item. And our next meeting will be December 17th at 5 o'clock at the central office, where we will continue to look at, we will have had our meeting with the Tri-Board, the Finance Committee, and the Select Board that will also provide more overview and guidance as we proceed. So, thank you to the committee.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Mueller? Seeing none. DIB, Ms. Goodwin is departed, so we'll defer that. Superintendent's eval, we have not met yet because we wanted to have a fully constituted subcommittee now that Ms. Goodwin's going to join it. Offline, we'll try to see if we can't get a meeting in before early December.
Yep.
Okay.
So email traffic to follow on that. Next up is Liaison Advisory Committee reports. Ms. Higgins.
Cape Cod Collaborative met last Wednesday, and they gave an update on their enrollment numbers. So STAR, which is K through ages 22, they have 63 spots filled of the 70 that they have available. Waypoint, which is grades 5 through 12, they have filled 28 spots out of the 45 that they have available. They currently have several referrals for STAR that are awaiting approval, and then they have one for Waypoint. They plan to start their strategic planning in December, and Waypoint has started interviews for program directors. That started last week, or maybe this following week. Yes. And they reported that the students at Waypoint are doing really well. And then at STAR, their new therapy dog, Calvin, has had a expansion in his schedule. He now has dedicated times at request for certain classrooms. They did their first Alice training, which took place a week before last, and then they do have one new student that is starting over winter break, or after winter break, sorry.
All right, thank you. Ms. Menendez.
Just a PTSA, just a little bit of update. The Sandwich Middle High School PTSA. I just wanted to recognize them since September. They've awarded $20,982 throughout the district. So I wanted to just recognize that. $10,500 was raised for the class of 26-27 to use for prom, graduation, other class events through the Spooky Nights fundraiser. $2,500 was to the 8th grade field trip to the Heritage Adventure Park. 7th grade field trip to Woods Hole they were awarded $1,000, and another one was a funding for clubs was $2,000. So I just wanted to update that the PTSA is vital and generous. Thank you.
Both the Forestdale Oak Ridge PTA combined, joint PTA and the PTSA for the high school and middle high school, volunteer run. It doesn't happen without parents. So if you're listening to this at home and you're not involved, consider getting involved, because our kids don't get those extra opportunities if some parents don't step up to do the kind of unsung hero work behind the scenes. So, and to those that do that, thank you. Next up is warrants.
Evan?
I think Alexis has.
I'm sorry.
In regards to the
Apologies.
PTA, their next meeting is going to be Tuesday, December 9th at 6 p.m., and it is via Zoom for any parents who would be interested in getting involved. I have volunteered. They're a great group, and they do need those volunteers. Without them, they can't get the work done that needs to be done, because they do a lot for our children.
And you just might enjoy it.
You might, or you might have to lift the giant dance floor and have very sore trap muscles for a week. So, not speaking from experience.
It's for the children.
But it was worth it, right? It was worth it.
It was my workout.
Absolutely, yes. Yep, that's good.
Next up is warrants.
I make a motion that we approve the warrants that were signed tonight.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Menendez, second by Dr. Miller. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0. Next up is our second public forum of the evening. Would anybody like to come forward at public forum? I can tap my fingers, but I won't put anybody on the spot. Okay, next up is future agenda items. Anybody have anything? Seeing none. Acknowledgements, closing remarks. Dr. Miller.
I just want to add to what Shreya had to say about the showcase Thursday night. It was wonderful. I was dazzled by the amount of staff initiative and participation, and the students were amazing. They were so engaged, so excited about their various projects, what they're learning, what they're doing in just any area that you can imagine. I was really excited to see so many women taking the forefront on the computer science, as this would have been an area I never would have initiated. I'm just so glad to see so many women in the sciences and technology and the others. And even the 8th grade robotics kiddos showing their project and what they were doing. Don't make a lot of eye contact with you, but boy, they could tell you exactly what they were doing and really enjoying it. So I thank everybody for putting that together, and I encourage members of the community, whether you have children or even more so if you don't have children in the district, because come tax time, come town meeting time, budget time, people ask, so what are we doing up? Or why are you spending so much money on this or that? This is where you see the outcome of that effort. And so if we do have one in the spring, it should be required attendance for prior to town meeting, because
We should get it out to the community.
It is
to
wonderful.
all
So thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you get your voting clicker, is that what you're saying?
And what did you say? There was 80% of staff involvement
Yes.
there?
Yeah, the
That's amazing.
staff
Remarkable.
participation was outstanding.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's great.
And that's not a required thing contractually,
Not-
so.
not at all.
The SEA, thank you very much for
A lot of positive energy.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other acknowledgements? Seeing none. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting until our next business meeting, Wednesday, December 10th at 6 p.m.
Motion by Ms. Menendez, second by Dr. Miller. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? Passes 4-0. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, and we will see you on the 10th.